your very kind invitation for us to lecture here today. Now, the subject of my lecture today is artistry in movement and time. And it was Dostoevsky, I believe, who said, "Beauty will save the world. But without artistry, there can be no beauty," in my opinion. And what we're going to try and do today is to allow you to come with us to a lesson that we would be giving to some of our pupils, and how we go about trying to increase their expertise in movement and time. Now, when a lesson starts, the couple will often ask to do maybe waltz or foxtrot, and what I will do, I will allow them to dance quite a lot because I want to see what they're doing, what is their strengths, what is their weaknesses, and from that we have a guide to the lesson. Now, I have a formula which I'm going to explain to you, and everything in dancing, in my opinion, is based on weight, space, energy, and time. These four things, these four categories, weight, space, energy, and time, are the controllers of nearly everything you do in dancing. I'll repeat the words: weight, space, energy, and time. And this is, for me, a good way to analyze what the couple are doing, what they're good at, what they're weak at, and where they need to go for the future. So, having danced, in my mind, I'm making my mind up whether I look at their spatial qualities, and usually it's the spatial quality, what it looks like, that is the first one to hit you. And many times that looks pretty good, particularly today. Holds and general space features are pretty strong. You may like this style or you may like that style, but generally the space factor will be a pretty strong factor in the competitive arena. Then usually you can see that energy, where energy is, how much energy does the couple have? And what I'm doing in my mind, I'm grading where they are. So space maybe 8 out of 10. Energy could be maybe a little low, maybe 5 out of 10. If they're 9 out of 10 in every subject, weight, space, energy, time, they're going to win everything. They're going to win the amateur, professional, youth, senior, Latin, modern, formation, the whole lot. Yeah. And so this gives me an idea. Space looks pretty good, 8 out of 10. Energy's a little low, maybe 5, 4, 5, 6 maybe. And then time comes into the equation, and I'm looking at two types of time. One is the base time that they are showing. So basically, are they in time? Usually yes, maybe not accurate always, but most couples that I see are generally in time. So time is the base type of time I'm looking first of all, and that is really in the foot speed, just very easily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is basically in time. And if you see people who are losing their foot speeds, you might see something like 1, 2, 3, 4, and very irregular type of speeds in the feet. And this is very dangerous in competitions. This is going to not get marked at all. This will be that very quickly. So foot speed is a good indicator of base time. And the second type of time, which we could call melodic time or expressive time, is how the couple then dances that in an expressive way, which we'll go into a little bit later. So we've got space, 8 out of 10. Energy, maybe 5 out of 10. Time, not bad, but not great. Base time may be perfect. But melodic time may be only 6 or 7. And those three are usually the first things to hit you, or to hit me in a lesson. So the first thing, the first definition of weight is balance. The second definition of weight is the tension level that you have in the body. And tension is a killer of quality. If you have too much tension in your systems, in your hands and arms, particularly in the upper structures, then it's very difficult to stay on balance and to produce anything that is worthwhile. So therefore, Anne's hands and arms here are super soft, they're flexible, they will move with the movement, and the rules with tension is that if the small muscles activate early in the action, if you just pull with the hand and I pull with the hand, all we're doing is actually pulling each other off balance. And the rule is that small muscle action early will always rebound into the system. So the small muscle pulling, all we're doing is actually pulling each other off balance. If Anne was to push me here, on the shoulder, here, and I resist, we have a problem. There's too much tension. The balance system's gone. If she pushes again and I'm flexible, the balance will remain. Yeah, so therefore we're still balanced. And if we go back to the first definition, balance of weight is the most important thing, the number one thing that really makes things work. And then the second thing is the tension level. Of all the great dancers that I've danced with, very luckily, over many, many years, going back to people like Wally Fryer, Len Scrivener, Sonny Binnick, Desmond Ellison was a great dancer, Charles Theobald, Bill and Bobby Irvin, Peter Eggleton and Brenda, fabulous dancers. Then coming into the modern era, the same thing, dancing with the great dancers. And I realized suddenly, and it was a big shock to me, that they all felt the same. They all felt the same. They all looked different. So you'd have Peter dancing a bit more that way, and Bill a little bit more classical, and Anthony was a bit further forward, and Benny Tomo was a bit more there. But they all felt the same. And the reason they all felt the same, I suddenly realized, is because they change weight properly. That's what they do. They find what we can call the moment of truth in dancing. And that's what they all do. They all change weight correctly. So what I'd like to do is talk about how we use weight and how that translates into artistry and time in movement. Now, the first thing I'll do, if their weight is not very good, usually they're too stiff, usually off balance, all I do 3 exercises, and these are designed to show what the body is basically doing. Now, we're going to walk, a feather step, reverse turn, 3-step, feather finish, impetus turn, etc. And all we're trying to do is put the sternum point, the chest point, and the belly button point onto the foot on beat 1. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to dance, we're just walking onto that, and we're moving that body vertically. So from here, preparation, and 1, 1, 1, 1. Our weights are just moving onto the foot on beat 1. That's all we're doing. And if you look at the distance we've moved, it's actually reasonable. And we've not killed ourselves. So there's energy here, but the energy is not coming from big steps. It's not coming from doing something like this, which doesn't increase movement, usually. So it's the movement of the weight in a metronomic way, moving the weight from one foot to the other foot, that makes it more efficient. And if you watch the Olympics this year, you must have seen this man, Usain Bolt, I'm sure, win the 200 and 100 meters, I think it was. Now he can move 3 meters in 1 step. That's pretty big. If I go from here, 1, 2, 3, that's 3 meters in 1 step. So how does he do that, is the question. And the question is, he has flight. So in running, they take off, they leave the earth, and they have flight, and he can shift that amount of movement. We do not leave the ground, but we do try to make flight. So if we just do that once again, darling, from here. At the moment, because we have low speed, we're not trying to do that, we're just trying to get the body weight into the correct position so that the weight will change properly. So from here, on beat 1, our goal at the moment is to move the sternum and the belly button together on beat 1. We're not dancing, we're just walking on 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. And you can see we've moved round about the same distance without really trying. So at this moment in time, I'm not really worried about energy. Okay, so that's beat 1. Now also on beat 1, there's another action that we must do in order to be able to create the artistry that we want and to balance in greater motion, in greater energy. And that is CBM. Technically CBM, and what we have here, we can just think of it as a soft shoulder movement, a very soft action of the shoulders. It is later we can develop this, but this is all I'm doing at this particular time in the lesson. And I will just try to get the feel, very soft shoulders, no feel of muscles overworking, but just lovely feel, soft feel of weight working in harmony. So there's very little, in fact no stress at this stage in dancing together. So if we do that once again, this time we've got two functions. We're moving the body vertically, and we have the CBM coming into the shoulders, and CBM, 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 and CBM. And I've maybe moved a tiny bit more. Maybe I was there before, now I might be here. So there's a tiny bit more movement there. And what CBM does is to allow the body to balance in a dynamic way. It helps the balance of the body and for you to go faster. That's why the runners, you will see them with strong arm swings and strong arm motions, shoulders. And that is a counterbalance. Now the rule of balance, for you, me, the dog, everything that's moving, there's only two ways to balance. One is to go slower, and the other is to create a counterbalance to that movement. So the first movement we did was like ski jumping. But in dancing, we're not going to ski jump, we've got to dance in balance. So the first thing we do to do that is, one of the things we're doing in the body is to allow the shoulder swing, known as CBM, to allow us to counterbalance the forward motion and stay better in balance. That way we'll be able to get more speed, more energy, and more artistry gradually. So if we just do it together, now we've got a little bit more shoulder swing and CBM. CBM, all on beat 1. CBM, CBM, and CBM. And let's move a little bit more. Okay, so what we've done now, we have created a little bit more energy because we moved the vertical plane of movement and we put a second plane of movement in the body, the rotary plane of movement. And that counts, therefore, as a counterbalance to that movement. If you don't do that, you'll be ski jumping, and that affects the lady in really difficult ways. So this happens, now we can't balance, so now we have a big problem. So the only thing I can do now is go slower, and I'm now dictated to by that speed of movement. So I could go very slowly here and not move much energy, and so the artistry factor would be limited, and the time factor would be certainly limited. So CBM acts as a counterbalance, that's what it does. Now, on beat 3, and this applies to nearly all music that you're going to use in foxtrot, we have another counterbalance effect, and that is sway. And what we have here, the sway is coming from the thighs, the hips, the center of gravity area, up through the spine, out to the shoulders, and so we have now another form of counterbalance as we're moving forward and backward. And this happens on beat 3. So on beat 1 you've got CBM, and on beat 3 you've got sway. So if you look at these two things, and here we're not interested in space, we're only interested in the weight being in balance. So CBM, sway, CBM, sway, CBM, sway. So it's nice and relaxed between us, there's no pulls or pushes. CBM, sway. Whoops, sorry, something there it is. Need a floor sweep, I think. Floor sweep, yeah. So, do that once again. Nice and relaxed, we're not trying to kill this. CBM, sway. CBM, sway. You can see the shapes are coming through the body now. Things are starting to get bigger, and the weights are moving with a little bit more power. Yeah. So there are three basic building blocks, and that's what the planes of movement or the body is doing in its basic actions. And that would apply whether I'm doing something very simple like that or something more complex. For instance, here it's the same things happening. You've got the CBM, the movement of the body, and the sway all helping to create the quality of motion. And energy in dancing is, in a simple way, it's the weight multiplied by its speed. So if we weigh 100 kilos together, we don't, but if we did, if we weigh 100 kilos together, and you multiply that by the speed you move at, say 10, that's 1,000 kilos moving. That's power. So power is not, if we do something like this, is not power. If Anne pushes that way and I push this way, this is only force. This is not power. This is not energy. When we release and we have movement, so movement gives you energy. Movement gives you power. So that's why tension in the end fails. Tension is just a controller and a stopper. So especially in the arm muscles, or yes, you might hold it together for a while, but gradually it will affect the quality of your movement, the artistry of your movement, and certainly the artistry in time. So therefore, we've lost the tension, we hope, in the first exercises through the CBM and sways. The small muscles are relaxed. And the couple now have started to feel what it's like to move. So now what I've got to get him to do is to accelerate. What he must do now is to accelerate the body weight going from here across the floor into round about that point there, which is round about maybe 3 meters. 1, 2, 3, oh, it's a bit more, 4. So round about 4 meters. So if I do that with Anne, she's expecting me to move here. So now the acceleration across the floor becomes much greater, especially on beat 1. Here's where the real power is coming in now, into acceleration, and that allows us to create more movement. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, and the lady knows that's going to happen, so she will react to that. She's expecting this motion to happen, so she's going to start moving in a complementary way so that you get, again, great harmony between the couple. And you'll find that the stress and the pulls and pushes start to disappear because the planes of movement are really in balance. So the vertical plane, the turns and sways are working in harmony. Take that out and you either have to go slower or you have to grip it, and that will affect, therefore, the quality and the artistic factors in your dance. Now, I would like just to talk for a moment about the mechanics of the dance, because it's important to know how the bodies will work and how they work best. And I just want to make 3 points here. The first point is, in your body you have 3 machines that are recognized as machines. Number 1 is a wheel. So if you just put your fingers there, I'm now turning the pelvis. The pelvis works like a wheel. Now that wheel motion affects the spine and comes up to the shoulders. So now I've got the wheel turning at the base of the body as it's moving. That in turn helps to turn the shoulders. The shoulders have their own muscular action as well, but the things all work in harmony, basically. And if I did a link in tango, you'll see this action coming from here. It'll be a turning of the hips and the shoulders all together, and it's that creates the power. The power is not in the small muscles. The power is in the big muscles that create the work. So in something like a link, here the hips wind up, and now the wheel unturns, turns the other way. That pulls the second wheel. Now the second machine that you have in your dance, in your bodies, is a lever. And if Anne would just push if I put my arm out here, this could be looked upon as a lever. If you just push that way, I have very little leverage now. This is a very weak position because it's so far away from the center of the force, the center of your dance, which is in the big muscles. It's the big muscles that do the work, and nothing happens until you move the center of gravity. So if I wanted to lift an arm, it's not like that. I'm going to move the center of gravity, and the whole body action becomes powerful. So in a position like this, here, this is a very weak lever. It won't work very hard. Going the other way, therefore the lever I'm really interested in is the elbow. This is the lever I'm really interested in. So if I do that tango action again, or if Anne just holds the lever for me, then if you push that way. So now I'm going to turn the wheels. Anne is causing it to try and go that way. But this, because it's such a powerful motion, she'll never stop this. It's so powerful because the legs and the hips and the weight and the shoulders are all involved in moving the lever. Notice it is not the lever that's doing the work. The lever is just a connector. So if I do that once again, I cannot lead now. I have no levers. She cannot follow this. So the levers are really important. That's why we have the hold. And mechanics of it is that you work, that the wheels work, comes up the body to the shoulders, and comes out in the first lever, which is the right elbow. In your right arm as man, you have a secondary lever from elbow to hand. It never works this way. If you have to keep using it this way, you're off balance. So therefore, on something like a right lunge here, my hand will open and let her expand as far as she wants to, as long as it's balanced. If she goes off balance, then of course I have to help. But I hope it doesn't. If it does, if I have to hold her, then no good. If it goes to here, she can feel that lever changing from elbow to elbow immediately if I want to do it fast or slowly. Without levers, I cannot connect that. But the lever is not the hand on the back in the sense of pulling the girl this way. So this lever always works in harmony with this lever. So the elbow is the prime lever connected to the wheel of the shoulder and the wheels of the hips. Now, when that works that way, not this way. And if you find your partner is heavy, check your right hand and see if you're pulling her. Yeah? There are 3 ways to be heavy, for the lady usually. Number 1, off balance. That's the worst one. So if you get something like this, off balance, something like out here somewhere, that's never going to work in motion. It might work in statics, but it won't work in motion. The second way is the center of gravity is not alive enough because the third machine is not working. So we've got number 1 machine is the wheel, number 2 is the lever, and number 3 is what's called in English a pulley system. And this is where the muscles in the legs here, they contract and they basically pull the tendon, and that lifts the heel off the floor. So therefore we rise. So if there's not enough of ankle action in balance, then it gets heavy. So for instance, if we were to push up here, Anne feels very light because the ankles have been used. Often I dance with girls, they don't use the ankles, so my center will go up and the lady's center will stay down. Now we have a different center area to contend with. So the 3 levers, the 3 machines that you have in your body are really important to understand how the body can work efficiently and create more quality of movement. Now, a couple of words about time. And time is a vast subject. It's like a vast ocean in which a fly...
About time.
couple of 2 minutes, sorry. But it's a vast ocean. Time, because it's related to music, is a massive subject. But a couple of things I would like to say about foxtrot. In bass time here, I often teach that we teach from here slow, slow and slow, slow and slow, slow and slow, slow and slow. And so the slow and slow, slow and slow gives an elongated body flight, lengthens the body flight, it lengthens the time that the center of gravity is in motion in order to create flight. If I dance slow, quick, quick in the body and the legs together, it's this. Slow, quick, quick, slow, quick. And you can see the central motion has been chopped, it's been cut by half a beat basically. So a simple way of getting better timing and more foxtrot timing, which wants to be basically rubato, and rubato means you're stealing time. The best way is to use that timing. Can we just have the foxtrot, Richard? Sorry, thank you. And I'll just try and do that to a bit of music. Just look at the time. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Well, thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. The half hour's flown, and it's been a great pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you once again to committee for inviting us, and thank you to my lovely wife, Anne. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.